I will not leave by you alone. I will hold to the cross.
The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's foreign and foreign.
Good evening and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. Again, I am excited. I mean, we're in the holiday season. We just finished Thanksgiving and we're in a countdown to the Christmas holiday. And wow, I can't believe it. The start of a new year. It almost seems like I just said this not too long ago that I was saying, hey, welcome to the holiday season. Man, we're about to count down to Christmas and we're about to enter a new year. And it's crazy. We're about to enter, we're in December, right? It's December the 1st. And we're about to enter the Christmas holiday and we're going to start a new year. We're on the verge of leaving 2023. Can you believe it? And entering into 2024. I mean, where did time go? It just for a minute there, it just seemed like I was in August. I was celebrating my 40th wedding anniversary and going on a vacation. And man, I think we was in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. And next thing you know, it's almost Christmas, man. I mean, where is time going and how fast is it moving? And so, as I get into the show tonight, something I was thinking about the other day, and a lot of times I don't see a whole lot of, I guess you guys heard on the show a few times that, my daughter and my son-in-law are both college coaches. And so, love going to the basketball games, especially when my sons or my daughter was playing basketball or my daughter, Michelle, who was cheerleading in high school and stuff like that. Love going to the competitions, love going to the basketball games to see them play and support and so forth and so on. It's interesting about how many, I want to say this, quickly, because, I always think about particularly the African American or the Black family. And because rarely, I was at the game the other day at the Stony Brook game in Long Island. And I was thinking, as I was looking around this year, my wife and I, we purchased season tickets for the Stony Brook women's basketball program. And so, just to have seats and to be able to go to the game and say, okay, there's your seats. And then if you bring your grandkids and so forth and so on, it could become a real family thing. And I've noticed that a lot of times, particularly African Americans, most of them probably don't know, well, maybe I don't know how much they attend a high school game as a family, as a family night out, or go to a local college basketball team, or even if you are a fan of football or baseball or basketball. I just find it interesting that not a lot of, in my estimation, it's just my estimation and my opinion, that we don't have family time like that where we have we support a local team. We get season tickets and we take our kids to watch those games and cheer for those games and cheer for people and go out on a family gathering like that. And I just thought, I was just thinking about it. And also, I always think about it because as a former professional basketball player, I used to play, and then I used to watch at every level, the college level or the pro level, and particularly in the semi-pro level, that around the basket, guys were throwing me the ball. Little kids were throwing me the basketball as I shoot the ball. They call them ball boys, right? And I realized that a lot of a lot of African American kids, black kids, don't get an opportunity to be ball boys, at any level, right? And I was thinking about some of the other cultures that had so many experiences, right? And being able to go out there and throw a ball to your favorite player, or grab that basketball while they're warming up and throwing that basketball to you. And how many of us have an experience or an opportunity? Because many of us, maybe we don't go to the games, maybe we don't inquire about what it would take for our kid to be a ball boy for the Knicks, or the ball boy for the Nets, or a ball boy for the Iona College or Fordham University, or going to those games, or going to a football game and engaging ourselves in, sports or theater or whatever it is. And I was just thinking about that the other day. We should think about those things that we could do as a family, because you never know what the experience will ignite in a person to want to be somebody who's on that basketball court, right? Or somebody who's doing theater when you go there to volunteer as a theater person. It's just experiences. I was just thinking about having those experiences as young kids, taking our kids, or finding out and researching an opportunity for our kids to be a part of, volunteer and be a part of something that somewhere down the line could impact them personally. And then next thing you know, they're in the entertainment field, or they're in the sports field as well. I just want to bring that up because it was just on my mind, that I wanted to see more of us being season ticket holders, investing into local colleges and different things like that, and going out and experience what it's like to be a fan of something, right? And to cheer for those individuals as well. And then the next thing I wanted to say real quick, I got a curiosity. Now I'm probably going to tell a little my age, but I got a curiosity question. How many of you have seen this? I was having a conversation the other day, and we were talking about the snow, and we was talking about all these different things about the snow and how you play. And then the commercial came on. I don't know if you've seen the commercial where, the one old lady purchases a cushion to sit in a seat, and there's two other of her friends who are, she opens up the box and she shows the cushions, the seat cushions like you sit on, to make the seat more comfortable. And they looked at each other and they smiled. The next thing you know, you see them sitting down on a sled, and they're sliding down the mountain, and then they're getting up again and returning, walking back up the mountain to slide again. Well, that picture right there, that's curiosity question. My curiosity question or conversation is, I used to beg my mom and dad for a sled. Back in the day, we couldn't wait till it started to snow. Of course, at Christmas time, we got the sled, and of course, if many of you know, you run down with that sled, you jump on it while it's moving, and then you slide down it, and then those little handles in the front causes you to go left or right. Sometimes if you don't know how to steer, sometimes you could end up under somebody's car, or you could crash into somebody and knock them over. But the whole point is to get down that mountain as fast as you can. And those are some of the things that we used to do during the winter time. We all had sleds, right? And we all would start out with a little one, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just so much fun. I don't know if anybody remembers a sled before or had a sled. You can put something in the comments about whether you crashed on the sled. I know I crashed, bruises, hands freezing because you didn't want to go upstairs because you just want to ride that sled. But anyway, that, I just thought that I would bring that because we was having a conversation about that commercial, and then we were talking about sleds, and then I was thinking like, hey, right now, right, if I say payphone, right, hey man, remember the payphone at the corner store? Right? Nobody remembers what a payphone is anymore, and you can walk right by a payphone. Some of them are still here in New York. They still here. They banged up. They dirty. I wouldn't put my ear to that one of them phones, but the payphone has disappeared. Right? It's like it doesn't exist. Just like the sled. But I went on Amazon for that sled, and that sled is expensive. It's probably $15, 20, 15, $10 to $15 for that sled. Now that sled is about almost $200 for that sled. So somebody is using them. So again, that's my curiosity question or conversation today. Have you ever been on one of those sleds? Man, I'm sure you have. But anyway, let's move on. I want to start out with my book of the week. And we're going to have a conversation with my guests about this, right? It's called Super Flyer, a comedy in a one act, the Sanford and Son series by William Charles T. And a couple other people were involved with this. We're going to have a conversation about that. But that's my book of the week, right? And there's a little throwback stuff here. A comedy in one act, the Super Flyer, right? We'll get more details on that a little bit later, hopefully. And then my words, I got words of the week. My sister-in-law said those sleds were dangerous. Well, hold up. When we were kids, everything we did was dangerous. I mean, our parents was keeping us from jumping off the couch, climbing on the table, right? Everything we did as kids was dangerous, including those sleds. Riding the bike was dangerous. I'll tell you one other thing. Those roller skates, metal roller skates was dangerous, right? You put those metal roller skates on your sneakers, they were dangerous, right? There was no way to stop. I mean, you could break your foot, your leg, anything out there. We did dangerous things when we were young, right? And the toys were dangerous. Right. It just so happened now, right? If you break your leg now, somebody going to sue you for a couple of $1 million. That's what's going to happen or more. But anyway, here's our words of the week, right? Words of the week. Oh, my wife said, man, she slid under a fat guy, a big fat dude, and he fell on her while he was on the sled. Yeah, they fun, but they are dangerous. And you know what? Let me say this to you guys about the sled, right? Out from that sled, we see the Winter Olympics. We see people going to the Olympics. We see people making a whole lot of money on these skis, right? And on ice skates. Those things was dangerous. Right? If you didn't have anybody watching, you could kill yourself on ice skates. Right? And then the little skates had points on them. Man, all that stuff was dangerous. But on the other side of it, if you did it properly, you had a good time. So here's the words of the week. Reset. Now, I don't know. We're going into the new year. Right? You're going into the new year. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about these words. Right? It may be an opportunity to reset, realign, restart, reclaim, and reignite something. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know, because everybody got a job. Everybody thinks, according to the Bible, the first thing God gave a man was work, right? Not a job. He gave him work, right? That means God gave him gifts, right? He gave him purpose, and he gave him assignments, right? You can retire from your job, but you can never, as Dr. Miles Monroe said, you can never retire from your gift. You can never retire from your work. Tiger Woods can never retire from golf, right? He will always be about golf. Michael Jordan could never retire from basketball, right? He's still making money, right, from basketball, right? So you can retire from your job, but you can't retire from your work. You can't retire from your gift. You can't retire from your purpose, and you can't retire from your assignment. So maybe this is a time, these words right here, right? Let's see them one more time, right? I want you to think about it because you got to think about it, right? Maybe it's a time to reset. Maybe it's a time to realign. Maybe it's a time to restart. And maybe it's a time to reclaim something. And maybe it's a time to reignite something. Maybe it is, right? And so here's my affirmation, right? And quote moment, my Hill and Pierce Harper affirmation and quote moment. Patrice forgot about the fat guy. I remember Calvin going down under the car. See, right? We had fun, but it was dangerous, right? And check it out. The crazy thing is, you get to talk about that. Your brother's still here, right? Patrice is still here. Everybody's still here, even though it was dangerous. But we had fun. So real quick, let's see this affirmation. Hill and Pierce Harper affirmation quote moment. There is always, always, always something to be grateful for, right? Always something to be grateful for. As we come to the close of another year, right? You can always find something to be grateful for, right? Yeah, every morning you wake up, you can always find something to be grateful for. And then here's our music and movie of the week. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. I mean, you can play that anytime, man, and I will just stop what I'm doing. That's a song that's transformational, right? Transformational song, and very powerful, and one we will always remember, and it transcends time, right? And then here's the movie of the week. I'm going to show you this real clip real fast. It's called Cane River. Check this out.
So, are you from around here?
Well, in a way, yes. I've been away, but I'm originally from Cane River.
Wait, what are you, some type of a horse trainer or something?
No, I'm not a horse trainer. I'm a poet, a writer.
I always picture a poet sitting at a table, getting drunk and dying of consumption.
Well, they're not exactly great, Marie.
You know something, Peter? You're different.
When it debuted in 1982, Cane River was already a rarity, a drama by an independent black filmmaker, financed by black patrons, and dealing with race issues untouched by mainstream cinema, says the New York Times.
I want to make you take a bath. Been riding that old smelly horse, and God only knows what else. And I don't want you to see him again, Maria. Now, do you hear me? Why, Mama? He's a nice guy. Because he's a Matoya, that's why.
Now, what does being a damn Matoir have to do with it?
Your great-grandmother owned the Melrose Plantation, right? An African woman who owned slaves.
Because we don't know our own history. We don't know the value of land or the importance of owning it. And we're letting it slip right through our hands.
Rare and fantastic, its raw subject matter echoes in films of the present day, says RogerEbert.com. Cane River is a work of visionary artistry and progressive imagination, says The New Yorker. Nearly 4 decades after it was made, Cane River is available to audiences for the first time in an all-new, loving restoration. Cane River.
Wow, Cane River. Now you know, 4 decades ago you couldn't see this film, right? But now you can see it. You can purchase it and see it on Apple TV, right? Or you should check it out. It's called Cane River. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it later on. Now Now, check out this video as we get started with our guest today. Check this out. Listen to it real closely, and I'll be right back with you. Oh, don't let me forget my person of the week before I show you that. The person of the week, Tyler Perry. Right. I'm sure we're going to have a little conversation about him. I love some things that Tyler Perry is doing. Right. And he's my person of the week. He's doing some amazing things. Right. And if you don't know his story, read his story. He's my person of the week. And man, I love all his work. Right. So and let me give some birthday shout outs real quick before I introduce my guest. Happy birthday to Carter Lee, 11/27. Happy birthday, Carter. That's my man. And then Cammie. Happy birthday, Cammie. 11/28. Man, she's growing up so fast. Just a minute ago, she was a little baby I was holding in the arms. Now it's like a big girl. Cammie, happy birthday. And then I want to say happy birthday to my cousin Judy. Her birthday is today. Judy, happy birthday. Man, many more. And then Sean, happy birthday, Sean. His birthday is coming up on 12/3. Man, many more. Right. And then I want to say happy birthday to Reverend Dr. Stephen Poe, Laney's other pop. That's oh man, that's my son-in-law's father. We were at a ceremony today. Laney, he baptized Laney on his birthday. His granddaughter, his first granddaughter, got baptized this morning. And then we went to have, it was brunch, dinner. I want to say congratulations. I want to say happy birthday to him and congratulations to the Pogues. And it's just been an awesome day. A little tired, but I'm good right now. I'm all good. So let's move forward.
The producer of Sanford Son, a guy named Aaron Rubin, he's the producer of Sanford Son, is getting a lot of flack. Why? Because he doesn't have any black writers writing scripts of the show. He reads the New York Sunday Times religiously. Happens to see my photograph in there as a playwright. The first script I wrote for them was well received. And I ended up, I think that first year, writing 5 episodes of Sanford Son. Well, I was born in 1948. So that I just turned 72 in November. So when I was in school, the Memphis public school system was totally segregated. There were 7 black high schools in Memphis. And that's who we played in sports. We didn't play any white schools at all. When I went to college, I felt totally prepared. There was no learning deficit. The teachers that we had really did a good job. Looking back on it, there was not a whole lot of talk about racism or we were a suppressed or oppressed community. I really didn't think of it like that at that time. But our teachers knew what they were preparing us for. Every now and then they would say something like, what the world's going to be like when you get out in it. But they really prepared us. They worked us hard. They really did. They worked us hard. This picture was taken right before the second Muhammad Ali-Ken Norton fight. And Red Fox told me that that Muhammad Ali was going to come by and visit him in his dressing room. That was taken in Red Fox's dressing room before Ali went on to do the Tonight Show. The mindset right before the fight, he was not in a joking mood. He was serious. If you got a cell phone, you can write out a story, you can write out a skit and film it, and you're gonna learn through doing. That's how I learned. I never took a class in writing. I didn't really take classes in acting. Learned by being up on the stage as an actor and by writing as a writer.
Ilunga Adell. What's up, man?
Hey, Lowe's. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
So far, so good. I got my earplugs in, man, so I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, thank you for last week, Mr. Howard. We finally made that happen last week.
Uh-huh.
Man, it was awesome. I had a couple of people text me this week about the history of the Negro League. Man, everybody thought it was like, man, there's so much I didn't know, about what happened during that time and different things like that. So I want to thank you. We had to be persistent, right? Technology is a little fickle, so we had to redo a show, right? We had to do
Okay.
a do over, and it was cool, man. I mean, because we just couldn't miss documenting this part of history, right?
I
I mean,
agree.
because
I
with
agree.
Mr. Howard, you just can't today, because I said to somebody, I did a kind of a summary a couple of days after on my on the Blueprint Facebook page, and I was talking about you guys, and I was talking about why they should listen to it, and why we had to get it done, and why we had to document this, because a lot of the Tuskegee Airmen are no longer here. A lot of the Negro League baseball players are no longer here. Right.
Exactly.
So and so you gotta document history. And I want to thank Steve Jacobs, who's a proponent for legends, and to recognize legends, and to recognize people who've had impact in history. So I want to thank him for introducing to me, to you, and also Mr. Howard as well. So but yeah, I mean, as I was doing the reading about Mr. Howard, and then reading about you as well, I was like, wow, yeah, Mr. Howard's a figure, but Ilunga is too, and especially you were connected to some of, I think for most African American, most black people, when you go back, right? And I'm 66, right? So
Young
when you
man, young
yeah,
man.
yeah. But when you go back and think about like all the like craziness is going on now, right? But when you go back and craziness was going on then, I think of things like Sanford and Son, and one of my, you know, I used to go to Emmanuel Pentecostal Faith Temple, and one of the musician there, the praise and worship leader there, Elder Clayton. Man, he lived and died. He still today live and die on Sanford and Son. I mean, he's always imitating Sanford and Son. And so many of us, man, we spent a lot of our time watching Sanford and Son, and watching That's My Mama, and seeing those shows back in the day, and watch them evolve, to more current and modern
Yeah.
topics. So let's talk a little bit about you as we get into this. Talk about growing up.
I grew up
Mom and
in
dad
Memphis,
and
Tennessee.
simple.
I grew
Go
up in
ahead.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Hmm.
And I tell people I'm very patient because I was raised by women. My mother and my grandmother. My father and mother split up when I was 5. And they got divorced, I think, when I was 12. But my father was not around much after that at all. I grew up in Memphis. Kind of, I would almost say an idyllic, childhood. Only thing I did was go to school, come home, go outside and play, and come back in, do my homework if I had any, and same thing over and over and over again. It was a different time. For instance, I could go outside without letting my mother know I was going outside. I could walk several square miles, around my neighborhood in my city and not worry about being abducted, not worried about being assaulted, not worried about, being murdered. None of that. None of that. There were no gangs. I mean, there were neighborhoods. There might be a thug or two in the neighborhood, but it's a different world now. Very different world now.
Mm.
It was segregated Memphis. My entire world was black. But when I say my entire world, that meant the poor people I knew and the rich people I knew of, they were all black. They were all black. And as far as I could see and understand, anything you want to achieve, you could achieve in that world.
Mm.
In that world. To me, it was, it was a pleasant, childhood. People ask me if I was in a gang. I said, yeah, I was in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, Cub Scout, Boy Scouts.
and honestly, Lowe's, I'm probably one of the world's oldest living nerds. I've been a nerd all my life. I've never been what you would call a tough guy at all whatsoever. I had 2 fights in my whole life, and both of them before I was 12. And after that, I ran. I had many, many, many rumble fights. Many. But never been caught. Never been caught. Because I discovered I could run around a car all day. And you're not going to catch me. I'm going to be saying uncomplimentary things about your mother while I'm doing it. But you ain't going to catch me right now.
You learn the art of fighting without fighting. That's what Bruce Lee said.
Yeah. Somebody threatened to beat. I said, it's been tried. Good luck. Good luck. But that was, basically, my childhood.
Right.
Oh, but I have to also say, aside from being a nerd, I was a very athletic nerd.
Mm.
Except for basketball. I tell people I was more of a strong safety in basketball. I was not that good in basketball. But baseball, yeah, and football, I was a great football player.
Wow.
I was all backyard 2 years in a row.
All backyard?
2 years in a row. In a row. Which ain't easy to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, people always assume that, making a sports team, your team sports team or your biddy league team was tough. But I grew up in the projects, and I've never seen more dirty fights or dirty play than outside the project in the grass. One building against the other building. I mean, cheating, scratching, biting. I mean,
man.
yeah. Just ruthless.
Yeah. See, you up north. And I'm in the sunny, friendly South. It was a little different.
My God. You
Still
said
hard fought.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was the mantra? You play hard but not dirty.
Yeah, I think they forgot that in New York. They didn't. They play hard and dirty.
Fortunately, we remembered the hard but not dirty part.
Well, that was called Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
Back then.
Memphis, Tennessee, baby.
Memphis, Tennessee. Talk about back then. Talk about the importance, and you talking about your mother and your grandmother. Talking about their thought and mindset around family, faith, and education.
I'll start with education. Why? Because my mother was a first grade teacher. So education was, highly esteemed to the point where I kind of took it for granted, that I am going to go to school, I'm going to go to college. On my report cards, anything A and B was okay. Anything below an A or B, that tail got tapped on. My tail got tapped on a couple of times. So education definitely, valued. In terms of faith, we went to a Baptist church, St. John Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. There's so many churches in Memphis. Memphis is in the Bible Belt, and people say it's the buckle of the Bible Belt. I went to Sunday school. I went to church. I didn't. To me, it's just another fact. It was a fact of life. It was a facet of life. I didn't really think a lot about religion and faith until I was an adult. Really.
Right. Got a quick question for you real quick. Is there a dryer? You got a dryer?
Hold 1 second.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, we don't want to miss this important stuff.
I got you.
You know, I can hear it, and then people say, "Is there a dryer on in your house?"
No, it's mine.
So yeah. So talk a little bit about. You said earlier you didn't think about the religious aspect of it, but
not really. I mean, I went to church and went to Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really give it that much thought until I was late 20s. I actually, at one point, I was an atheist. At one point.
Oh yeah, why you think that?
I know that I was motivated when I was 21. Just come to New York to be an actor in the theater, and my brother was 16, but he died from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have any understanding of it, why I was just so freaking angry. I was so hurt and angry. I was angry at God for, I would say, the next 7-8 years. I'm no longer an atheist.
Right.
Fortunately, what happened to me was I got introduced to a book called the Urantia book, which I started reading in 1977, and I read it, to this day. Now, Urantia is the name that the author. The Urantia book is a series of papers, and the first paper in the Urantia book is called the Universal Father. You could probably figure out who that is.
Yeah.
As I'm reading this first paper, the Universal Father, me, the atheist, I literally start crying as I'm reading it. And I'm saying, this is the God I've been looking for all this time. So I kept reading, the first set of those papers about the Universal Father. Then it goes to the Eternal Son. Then it goes to the Eternal Spirit. So it's talking about the Trinity in a sort of order. And even though I considered myself an atheist, I was really not aware of how much of Christianity I had incorporated into my belief system. Now, the Urantia book is 2,097 pages.
Dang.
That's what I said. Now, it took me 5 years to read it from page 21 to page 297 because I couldn't just accept it, swallow it as whole, just this is the truth. It's just so expansive and so challenging to, traditional thought and thinking in many regards that I had to really go through it and, say, do I really believe this or not? But, by the time I got to page 2097, I know one thing, I was no longer an atheist.
Wow.
I was a God-knowing child of God. And, just every day try to get to know God more, as much as I can.
Yeah.
That day.
Wow. So, yeah. And what's the name of the book?
The Urantia book. Urantia.
Okay. Urantia. 2,000 some pages.
2097.
Man, if I looked at a book that had 200 pages, I'd be like, what?
But Lowe's, when I first heard about the rancher, was my wife was a general contractor, or a contractor. She had an office in Memphis, and I was here, and an architect would come by. You know, we talk kind of like we're talking now.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he just said something that was so unique, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was so unique and original. I said, "Where did you get that from?" He said, "The Urantia book." I said, "Well, could you bring it by the office the next time you come by?" He said, "Sure." Now this is 1977. I'm expecting one of those little thin New Age pamphlets, and he comes in with this thing that's like a volume of a dictionary or a encyclopedia. I'm like, holy Jesus, holy Jesus. So then I started reading.
Wow. And so talk a little bit about being in high school and coming into the mindset about what it is that you wanted to accomplish, what you were dreaming about, what your vision was, and how did you did in terms of the traditional education you were receiving in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and being in that experience, how did it lead to acting, writing, all that?
It didn't.
Okay.
None of it did. I had no freaking idea what I wanted to do. I really didn't. I just know that I wanted to get A's and B's and no C's and D's because I didn't want my mama tapping on my tail. So I was a relatively diligent student. I could have done more, but I did okay. I did not know what I wanted to do until I was going to college in Boston, Massachusetts. Initially, I was going to college in Connecticut. Then I went to the University of Massachusetts in Boston, and my roommate was from Boston. And we would walk home from school, walk past the theater company of Boston. His uncle, he said, "My uncle works in there." I said, "Oh, yeah, what does he do?" He says, "He's an actor." I said, "Oh, man, I could do that." He goes, "Yeah, right." So one day we go in there looking for his uncle. And it was a Monday. Theaters are dark on Monday. I mean, ain't nothing going on.
That's right.
No rehearsals. They're dark. Ain't nothing going on in the theater. But no, it was like a few little lights on. We walk in there looking for his uncle. Lowe's. It was like a stereotypical movie moment. It's like I could hear the angelic choir in the background going, "Aha, aha." I'm serious. It was like, I'm like, this is where I belong. And I never even been in a theater before. This is where I belong. Wow, I just felt immediately so at home. And that was my first foray into the theater. His uncle's name was Gustav Johnson. Him and another black man named Jim Spruill were in the theater company of Boston. The theater company of Boston is a big time theater company. It is. Very famous actors. Dustin Hoffman, a bunch of others have performed there.
Right.
And it's in Boston. That's where John Williams, he's a composer who composed a lot of Steven Spielberg movies, is based in Boston. So Boston had like a lot of theater culture going on. And what they would do is in the summer, for whatever reason, they would shut down and they would give Gustav and Jim Spruill the theater. They could do with it whatever they want. This big major theater. And so that was my forward. We did some productions. And then the next year I was actually in a production at the theater company in Boston. Wow. And met some actors from New York, and which led me to New York. But not no one in my family, as far as I know, has been in the theater, been in showbiz, anything like that. I would not in high school not have predicted that at all whatsoever. Because like I said, I was a nerdy kid, kind of shy. Now, when I jumped into the theater, I was 20. That got me out of my shyness like that immediately, because I jumped in not as a writer, as an actor. And that means you got to be up on stage in a performance.
Right.
And if you're not performing a shy character, no, you got to perform whatever that playwright is written for you. So it got me out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I'll say this to everybody out there: there's something very special. If you got a kid, especially I think today, why I would think that why kids should take acting classes, right? I because my daughters, I remember my daughters entering, they were entering middle school along with my niece, and they, I think it was Roy. Forgot the other gentleman's name. Roy. These two guys were amazing,
Mm.
and I used to, try to pick them up, get there early to pick them up and listen to how he was speaking to the kid, how to bring out a character, how to change emotions, all those kind of things like that, how to pronounce words,
All
and
of that.
how to project. And I seen something in my kids, and Roy and Marty. Yeah, they were just so amazing. I seen kids' lives transform. Now, even if you never get into it, right? Even if that's not what you want to do, I would put my kids into there, because it's something dealing with your emotions, dealing with
All of that.
that nervousness, shyness, whatever it is. It really brings something out in you. So I get exactly what you're saying,
It was a
because I've
benefit.
seen so many lives transform because of it.
It was a
Yeah,
benefit.
yeah. And my oldest son Lowe's, he went to the children's theater in New York City, down in the Village.
See, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
That's a big deal. It can only benefit.
yeah. So you're in Boston, and then you decide to go to New York. I mean,
Yeah,
and by the way, what did you graduate college in?
I graduated. I didn't graduate. I quituated.
You okay. But you went to college for?
I went to college on a pre-med scholarship.
Okay, so you was gonna be a doctor.
I was gonna be a doctor.
Oh
Probably
man.
will end up being a witch doctor.
Oh man. So now you're in New York.
Yeah. What happened was, like I said, these actors from New York came up. And one of them, they were experienced actors. One of them was a woman. She's about 9 years older than me. And let's just say she took an interest in me. Another way of putting it is she cougared me up. And she told me about a play that was done in Baltimore. Then an actor who I came to know, who became a friend of mine. His name is Clifton Davis, and he's done a bunch of stuff on TV. Clifton can sing like an angel. He can sing like a freaking angel. And as an aside, I used to you hear him tinkering. He would write songs, and one of the songs he wrote was called "Never Can Say Goodbye," and it became a Michael Jackson hit.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I used to hear him, never can, oh man, because he had other stuff that I like more. But anyway, like your son understudied, I understudied Clifton Davis at the Arena Stage Theater in Baltimore, Maryland. After I left Boston, I did that fall. While I was in Baltimore, the lady told me about a play that I should audition for in New York. So I went up and auditioned for it and got the part. It was a play called Five on the Black Hand Side.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Was made into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was not in the movie. But the character that I originated, baby, off Broadway at the American Place Theater in the movie was performed by a wonderful actor named Glenn Turman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so from Boston to Baltimore to New York, and I just went up there to audition. Once again, I'm in the world that I love, and I stayed. I stayed.
Wow, man.
I stayed.
Yeah. So in the acting, you said you had a brief acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
4 years as an actor.
4 years. And what were some of the things you would? Well, you talking about theater and TV, or
Mainly theater, very little TV. I actually did my first TV show in Boston. That summer I started acting. There's a PBS station in Boston, WGBH. They were producing a black series called, I think, On Being Black. And it was like episodic. It was sort of like a different episode, totally different story every week. And I landed a part in one of them. I played the son of an actor named William Marshall. And William Marshall Black. He played probably most famous for the movie character Blackula. There was a movie.
I remember Black.
Right.
Mommy later.
But this is before Blackula. He had played like these noble parts. Like he should be leading a cavalry charge. Stuff like that. I think he played the black governor in, what was that movie? Tony Curtis movie. The Boston Strangler. He was in that. He was in William Marshall was an accomplished actor, but he played my father in that. So that was my first TV thing. But most of what I did was theater. When I got to New York, after that first off-Broadway stint, I joined a black theater troupe named the Black Magicians. Now, the Black Magicians was like the workshop for an established black theater company called New Lafayette Theater, which is in Harlem. New Lafayette Theater, I would say, based on the actors and that I saw in it, they were comparable to the Negro Ensemble Company. They were just a wonderful group of actors, and they had a great playwright. His name was Ed Bullins. He was. They had all these wonderful plays and these wonderful actors. There was a lady named Esther Roll who was a mother on Good Time.
Yes.
Esther Roll's sister was in New Lafayette Theater. It was just wonderful group of actors, and eventually we were able to. My theater troupe, we were able to be a part of a bill of 4 one-act plays that were performed at the Public Theater. And the Public Theater in New York is a big deal.
Right.
But at that age, your early 20s, you just, doing another set of plays that led to something, being at the Public Theater.
Yeah. And so, I put up that with a little book of the week called the Super Flyers.
Yeah. A comedy. Okay.
Yeah. And it has your name on it too as well.
It do?
Yeah. It says Ilunga Adell.
Happy. Oh my goodness. Teleplay by. Oh, I helped with that? I did? I don't remember.
It's all in Cane River.
Oh, Cane River. Oh, man, how did you find?
Well, what I found out in my research that now Apple has it on TV. You can get it because I guess when it came out or was trying to come out, nobody wanted to put it on the screen. I guess.
Right. They had a distribution problem.
Right.
But also, the filmmaker died.
Right. And now they talk about how great the film was. Now you can get it on Apple. You can purchase the movie or rent the movie on Apple TV. To
me, it is just my prejudice. The behind the scene production stuff on Cane River was more interesting than the movie to me. I'm serious. Now, the film was written and directed by Horace Bird Jenkins, a friend of mine. And he said, I have this minor part where you come do it. I said, yeah, why not, man? You're my boy. I'll come do it. Plus, he's from Philadelphia, so just out of respect, I'll come do it. Now Horace, how did Horace even make Cane River? Some Germans gave him $50,000 to make a movie. Horace was supposed to make a documentary. I don't even remember what the documentary was supposed to be about. They made the mistake of giving him the $50,000 all at once. He had the money. He said, forget the documentary. I got this script. I want to make it into a movie. And that's what he did.
Wow.
But it was a weird thing. He lived in New York in an apartment. In this apartment building, there was a composer who lived in there who had written an album that he couldn't get distribution for. Horace used that album for the soundtrack to Cane River. He just took it, but he couldn't afford to pay the guy to rewrite any of the songs or adopt them in any way. So he just took the music as it was and put it in the movie.
Like you said, they always say you can't make this stuff up.
You can, and then while he was making the movie, he ran out of money. And he had to get more, which he did. Now we shot the movie in Cane River's a river in Louisiana. He was able to get this black family who was in the funeral home business to put up finishing funds for the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had the hots for the guy's daughter, the money man's daughter. And the money man, I'm giving you the money, you got to put my daughter on as a producer. Not a problem. So Horace had the hots for her a little bit. But she had the hots for Mario, who was like Horace, one of Horace's friends. And he was like the boom operator. He was a sound man. He was a boom operator. And they got into it.
Oh, man.
Now, Mario is not big. He's not big.
Right.
I'm about 6 feet. Mario's probably like about 5'8", 5'9". Horace is about my side. Wow. Mario starts choking Horace down into a chair. We could not pry him off of it. Horace is like, Mario, you'll kill him, you'll kill him. Finally, Mario just lets him go. Horace fires Mario on the spot when he got his voice back. And Horace is like, anybody can hold a boom. I can hold a boom. I'll be the boom operator. So he's holding the boom microphone. We recorded a scene and we played the sound back. It sounded like it's in a bowling alley. It's like, it sounded worse than the dryer. It's like, boom, 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 boom. So he has to go hire Mario back.
Oh, man.
And kiss his butt. Now, all said and done, Mario and the producer ended up getting married and had two beautiful children.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. And
Cane River. The star of Cane River was Richard Romaine, the good-looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Richard Romaine had been a star football player at LSU. Wide receiver.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but he got a knee injury that ended his football career.
Football career, yeah.
As far as I know, he didn't do any acting after Cane River. He was a star of Cane River. And the woman, Tomei, played the love interest. That's another story. Originally, Sidney Poitier's daughter was playing that part. But when she came to the shoot, for whatever reason, either she fired or quit. Anyway, she wasn't there. Tomei came in and took over that part.
Wow.
And it was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So did you did some brief stuff with That's My Mama?
One episode I acted on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 And so then I got fired as an actor because the white people were afraid of me. They said I looked too mean.
You was too mean?
I looked too mean. I said, you scared of me. Y'all better not go outdoors, man. I'm a freaking nerd. Y'all scared of me. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Cause what's that guy? One of my favorite guys. He used to come in the barber shop all the time. You know,
Yeah, Ted
he,
Lange.
well,
Yeah.
he used to come in. That he was my favorite guy. Come in
Or
there,
was it
man.
him or Teddy
Uh,
Wilson? It had to be the Ted or
he
Teddy.
used to come in going like, "What's happening?" You know,
It might have been. It might have been. That's
how
me.
about those pictures right there?
I thought I'd burned all of those. That's Clifton, my buddy, me, and Lynn Moody. Me and Lynn Moody. In my
Man.
misspent youth. I think
Wow.
that's some of the last acting I ever did.
Oh yeah.
I can't say it was some of my best, but it's definitely some of my last.
So talk about the transition from acting into this whole thing on writing.
I'm minding my own business. I'm in the theater in New York. I'm at the Public Theater, which is a big freaking deal. I really didn't appreciate at the time. I had written a play, a one-act play. I directed that one-act play, and I was acting in another one-act play, and I was getting out. It's 1972. I'm getting $150 a week for 3 things. The rent ain't but $50. So I'm loaning people money. Oh, by the way, that one-act play that I wrote and directed it was an actor in it named Morgan Freeman, who you may have heard of.
Wow. Yeah, of course. I met
So
Mr. Morgan Freeman.
I directed Morgan Freeman in a play. I got to crack the whip on his butt.
Yeah.
No, Morgan, let's try it my way this time, okay? Morgan, the last time I looked, it said actor by your name. It said director by mine. Okay. Let's get this pecking order established. Okay. I'm the pecker and you're the pecky. Okay. All right. Now you know good and darn well it didn't go nothing like that. But it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience. And the producer of Sanford Son, like I said before, was getting flack because he had no black writers. He sees me and this other brother having plays at the Public Theater. He reached out, said they wrote for the Public Theater, maybe they can write for us. And that's how I started.
Wow.
But I consider myself, oh, by the way, Damon Wilson, who played Lamont, was not a stranger to me. That first play that I did in New York, 5 on the Black Hand Side, he was in the cast.
Wow.
So I knew him. By the time I got to Hollywood, I knew him. I knew him.
And then Red Fox.
I knew who Red Fox was. I was familiar with him and his work. But obviously I met him during the show. And real down to earth, man. Real down to earth. Approachable. You talk like we're talking. And he knew he was a star. He knew he was aware of that. He knew it. But it wasn't like a barrier between you and him. It wasn't like a barrier between you and him.
Wow.
Very down to earth approach. And a comedic genius. It's like he had like a funny computer in his head. Stuff just was funny. He's real smart, man. Real smart. Because he left home when he was 13. Left home, hobo around the country. But if you talk to him, Red Fox was not a dim does and D's guy at all. Articulate standard English. Aside from all the slang and everything else everybody else used, just obviously a smart individual who was a comedic genius.
Yeah. And so when you talk about getting into this, because evidently when recently, and we talked about this before the show came on, when you talk about writing, because you had a strike and everything shut down, writers strike and everything shut down. I mean, talk about the importance of the writer, right? And how, to write something, because we all have seen, I mean, remember, this is interactive. So if you got any questions or comments, put them down there at the bottom. We could see them, and, Ilunga could answer some of those questions as well. But, talk about what it is to write something like that we all look at and just laugh, just because we needed the laughs at that time, man. And then a lot of what was written was reality to a lot of us in terms of the way we live, our environment, our culture, right? So talk a little about that, and then the guy who talk a little bit about the guy who was the actual, right? I mean, I guess he's the maker of it. He was a white gentleman, right?
Sanford Son is based on a British English TV series called Steptoe and Son.
Okay.
It was a knockoff of that. And the first 13 episodes of Sanford Son were all adaptations from scripts on that British show, that first season of Sanford Son. And then they started reaching out, to writers to write, original episodes. And, ultimately that's how I became involved. That guy's name was Aaron Rubin. And if you Google him, you see he had been a producer many times. He was a Hollywood veteran, the type of person they would put in charge of something like that.
Right.
The type of person they would put in. I would say, based on what you're writing, determines your status as a writer. For instance, if you're writing a sitcom, any teleplay, a screenplay, a novel, a newspaper, whatever, a book of any kind, I think television writers are held in the least esteem, especially by people in the industry. They quickly replace writers, bring another writer in. Quickly. In theater, when I came into television from the theater, in the theater, the playwright is king or queen. You honor them, you honor their words. You don't rewrite and change what they say. You unless you talk to them and they agree to do it. If they don't, you make it. You figure out. You as an actor, you figure out a way to make it work. In television, no, that if the star wants to change, it's going to get changed. If a producer wants to change it, it's going to get changed. So yeah, a little different. The basis of it all is the script. There's a lot of writing by committee in television. Let's say I give you an assignment to write the script. You turn it in. Okay, I read it. I say I'm the exec producer. I read it. I assess it, and I say, okay, this is good. This is good. This is not so good. Let's say your script has 8 scenes, and I want 7 of them rewritten, and I have writers on my staff, and I will assign them those scenes and say, these are the notes I'm going to give you. This is how I want you to change that. Then it'll come back. And and oftentimes it's kind of like a hodgepodge. And then you have to go over and try to put some coherence in it. I have seen many, in my opinion, what I would call a thoroughbred racehorse script rewritten into a camel. Just because, that's the process it goes through. And it's not based on your opinion as a writer. It's based on the producer's opinion. What's going to happen to it?
Wow. So
it's a little different for movies. It's a lot different for movies and books.
Right. Yeah. So and then you're thinking like, okay, I'm acting, writing, and then all of a sudden now you're thinking like, okay, talk talk about the transition between the three, writing, producing, and directing.
Yeah,
And some of the other things that you have written for, that we talked about Sanford and Son, but then you go up, you kind of moving. There's a
yeah.
progress
That
with
was
you.
my first TV. That was my first TV
Yeah.
show.
So it talks about some of those things, but the process of writing, then and getting into directing and producing.
The acting helped with the writing. How? Because coming to it from a writer, coming to writing as an actor, I know the kind of lines actors want to say. So that helps me with write dialogue. And I always try to write natural. I don't try to write forced. I try to hear a conversation in my head, put it down on paper. When I started writing for sitcoms, and that Sanford Son was the first comedy I had ever written, brother. I consider myself a serious writer, dramatic writer. I didn't, but I know that just talking with people who I know in real life, some of them are naturally funny. And they just have a funny way of saying stuff. So I would imagine them having a conversation and, just, write it out naturally, forced. One of the formulas for sitcoms in those days anyway, was what they would call line, line, joke, line, line, joke, line, line, joke. And it just seems contrived to me.
Right.
Unnatural. So I never wrote like that. But I would say that in having acted in plays and having directed plays in the theater definitely helped me as a writer, because you're not only writing dialogue, you have to write action, what the actor is doing. You have to put on paper what we will see up on the screen. Some people have a problem doing that. They do.
Yeah.
It's creative work, but it's not the dialogue. But you still need to do it. It has to be done. It's show and tell, especially in TV and movies. You're not just writing out words. People say they're doing stuff. You have to imagine and see it and put that on paper, in a screen. A producer now in TV, and probably maybe in movies too, but in TV, being a writer is kind of like being in the army. Everybody is a soldier, but they're different ranks. You have enlisted, you have officers up to generals. You look at TV credits, you see, story editor, producer, supervising producer, co-exec producer, so forth and so on. Generally speaking, all of those are writers, just different ranks. Where do you rank on that writing staff? And generally speaking, the longer you stay around, your title increases. For instance, if you started out as a story editor and you stay on that show another year or two, they're gonna raise you up to the rank of producer. You're still a writer. You just have you're no longer a private. You're now like a captain or a lieutenant or something. And the longer you stay around, they keep promoting you title wise. Not only title wise, pay wise too. Every time your title goes up, your money goes up. But generally speaking, most of those people are some form of writer. And if you watch the credits on the show, quite often you'll see several executive producer credits.
Right.
But that's only because the people have been around. For instance, if my last credit on the TV show that I did before now was, let's say, an executive producer, and you want me to be on your staff, I'm going to be an executive producer on your staff too.
Right.
Even if I'm not the showrunner. I still have that title. I still have that money.
Right.
Now there are producers. You'll see a credit that says produced by. Those producers are generally speaking what you call line producers. They're not creative producers. They're not writers. They do the budgeting. They may do the scheduling for the filming or taping of the show. They hire people in different departments. What's a department? Wardrobe is a department. Makeup is a department. Hair and makeup is a department. Food catering is a department. The camera people, those are all different departments. And those producers, those line producers are hiring those guys. Those line producers also do budgets. Okay?
Right.
They budget the shows out. Here's a little plus for them. If they come in at the end of the year, they come in under budget, they say that production company that networks some money, guess what? They break them off some of it. They'll give them a bonus for coming in under budget. But that's on. Now, one of my best friends is a line producer. He's actually right now the production supervisor at Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta. His name is Jim Tripp, and I've known him in TV as a producer, line producer, and as production supervisor, and now he's production supervisor for Tyler Perry Studios, which means he oversees the production for all of those productions that are shot there, filmed there.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a team. It's a teamwork, though.
Yeah.
The writers provide the basis for the story. Jimmy or somebody like Jimmy got to go through their script and figure out how much it's going to cost to make it and budget that out. And when are we going to shoot it? How many do we need to build any additional sets?
Wow.
They may come to you and say, you have 3 additional sets in this story, other than the regular sets we use every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford 3. We can afford more, maybe 2. So one of these scenes that you wrote at the haunted house, you're gonna have to put it somewhere else. What do? You put it somewhere else.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not having the problem. I'm having the problem over here. You nice and clear and everything, and I'm freezing. But we're gonna continue because I think this is very interesting. And in regards to now this world today, I mean, you've done a number of things in regards to a different world, Moesha, different things like that. So talk a little bit about, doing, I mean, you're progressing, right? I mean, at that time you're progressing to different things.
If you want to keep eating and paying, your house, you can't help but progress.
Yeah.
You got to get another gig, man. You got to feed the wife and kids and all that. Yeah, you better progress. You better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think it's, in a sense, it's easier now because there's so many more television shows, even television movies opportunities out there available.
Yeah. But talk about.
It's a little weird though, because back in the day, a TV series was like 20 episodes, 22 episodes, sometimes 25 episodes. That's not the case anymore, man.
Yeah.
Might be 5, 10 at the most.
Wow.
So shorter, less money sometimes.
So in your talk about the experience, if somebody's acting today, right? Somebody's in this business today, and particularly African American, male or female, and in terms of the acting, in terms of the writing, directing, producing, what advice would you recommend in terms of, because I have a son who's in it, and a number of people I know who's in the acting field. Talk about what your thoughts are that they should be doing today in order to be productive and effective in this industry.
There's an old saying, it's who you know. They're going to have to mix and mingle and get to know people and form relationships and form allies if they can. And they can. And they can. Representation is also important. What's representation? Agents, managers, they're important. Agents and managers know each other, Agents can get you auditions. Managers may be able to get you auditions, or at least suggest projects to your agent that they can set you up for auditions. It's important, but it's also important to get to know people, because people like to work with people they know and like. It's important to have allies. It's also, there are two things I would hope any actor, writer, director, producer, anybody in the business remembers. Be in it for the long haul. It's going to take longer than you think. Definitely going to take longer than you want. Don't give up. Stay in it. I have a good friend. His name is Ernest Harden Jr. He's an actor. When I was in Los Angeles about last month, spent some time with him, went to a rehearsal with him. What is he rehearsing? He's rehearsing one scene from one play that he is going to perform at the Actor Studio in Los Angeles. Now, a lot of famous actors and directors and people are going to come in there. Who knows who's going to see it? Other than, you can't predict. You can't predict. Do things like that. I'm really shocked that theater doesn't have more prestige in Los Angeles, because it doesn't. TV and movies definitely trump it. I'm really surprised. I mean, with all the actors there, you would think, they would be clamoring to do theater all the time. It's not exactly like that.
Right.
It's not exactly like that there. My experience going into Hollywood was coming out of theater in New York. And I would suggest any actor go to New York and do theater. Seriously. Because you don't know who you're going to meet, For instance, a friend of mine, I had mentioned the New Lafayette Theater Company. A friend of mine was an actor in the New Lafayette Theater Company. He also had aspirations of being a director and a filmmaker. He ended up directing a couple of plays at the Public Theater in New York. These plays were seen by Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. He ended up working with them. So if you're out there doing stuff, you're gonna, opportunities are gonna come to you, because you're putting yourself in the game. People are gonna see you play. You got to be busy. You got to be doing stuff. And once again, representation is very important in terms of getting you auditions, putting you in front of people who will hire you for gigs.
Wow.
And they used to have a thing, it probably still be called packaging. Let's say an agent that represents a certain actor or a director, but they got more than one client, or the agency has more than one client. So they're gonna try to throw all of as many of their clients onto that project as a package as possible.
Right.
It's important for you to be represented.
Wow.
The representation you have.
Yeah.
And you gotta be prepared to stick with it.
So you're saying it's not a sprint, it's a journey.
It's a marathon. It ain't no, yeah. It ain't a sprint. If you're lucky if it's a sprint. That's rare. Rare. People tend to hire, who they know. When I started writing for television, I knew some black writers, but it wasn't like a jillion of them. And there weren't a lot of opportunities for black writers because who's hiring the writers? The white executive producers, and producers are hiring the writers. And who are they going to hire? Other white, writers that they know, their friends, people they work with or want to work with.
So, so what do you recommend in terms of what my person of the week was Tyler Perry, and what he's doing. Your recommendation on that we need to start. You talked about the either ensembles or the other clubs or organizations that you came up in that had black actors. Does that exist today?
Probably. But also there was when I went from New York to Los Angeles, I left the theater in New York at a time when early 70s, is the tail end of the civil rights movement. Black is Beautiful was strong. Nation Time. We called each other brothers and sisters. All of this add up to a sense of family, tribe. We went together. When I went to Los Angeles, culture shock. I was immediately struck with the attitude of everybody for himself. Everybody for. Well, I'm in it for me. I'm in it for me.
Wow.
And you say there's no I in team. That saying.
Yeah.
And they'll say yeah, but there ain't no we either. Okay. And I'm pretty sure some of that attitude still prevails. So that's going to be something you have to overcome.
Yeah.
That every man for himself in the talent, and nobody, actively trying to help somebody else. There are people who will help you. They may be far and few between, but they're there. And when that happens, appreciate it. And I would say when you get the opportunity to help somebody, help them. Advance their cause if you can.
Ooh,
Advance their cause.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. You saying that. I mean, and I can't speak for my son, but and for me, I always tell him the part of networking is so important. I mean, in any business, as the former executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, I mean, the organization wouldn't have grown if I wasn't out networking.
Yes,
right? Because the more right, so the more people that I was at the gala, I was at the luncheon, I was at the breakfast. The more people I met, the more I could build my board. Get people to know me, people that know people, and I tried to share that with my son as well. You got to network. You got to get out there.
Yes.
You got to get involved.
Yes.
You got to meet people.
Yes. That's why they do that, man. They network. They go to affairs. They go to an event. They like going to award shows. They like going to openings. They like if they ain't on the red carpet, at least being around the red carpet. They like going to parties, to mix and mingle with people, to get to be known and get to be liked, to get an opportunity to present your talent. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's different for an actor and a writer. It's hard to get people to read your script. It is. It is, man. I remember going in back in the day. This is before everything was electronic. You do on a computer. You go in a producer's office with a meeting with your pitch and your script, right? He or she has a bookcase full of scripts behind them. Literally a bookcase full of scripts. Have they read? I have no idea if they read them or not. Are they gonna read? I don't know if they're gonna read mine or not. I've had literally, I would say, for every 100 meetings that I've had, one or two things went into production.
But you have to be in it for the long run.
You do. Remember, it's going to take longer than you think, and definitely longer than you want. But don't give up. Teamwork.
Well, okay, so I'm glad you said that. So you think that that actors or writers should build a club or a team?
Yes.
Where they can bounce off each other and
all of that. And especially now, you got so much social media. Use that to your advantage. Use that to your advantage. You may be able to promote your talent on social media. You may be able to film yourself doing some scene work and doing it on social media.
So my final, I want to say thank you, but my final question to you, I want to thank you for coming on, number one, but
thank you for having me.
Yeah. And, my final thing to you is that what are you currently doing? We had a little conversation about that.
Okay.
Because you're still at it. One thing about as I thought about my son in regards to the sprint, right? Because as parents, when we look at it, we think about the sprint. We think about, oh man, you gotta get something now, right?
Yes.
And then you once you realize that the industry, in regards to African American, particularly African American men, sometimes it's tough to get into the industry, and sometimes it takes time, and you by a certain age you may get in there.
Yes.
But I learned that it is not a sprint; it is a marathon, right?
Yes.
And that, but an actor can act, whereas I'm a basketball player. My lifespan of an NBA player, average NBA player, is 3 years, 3 to 4 years, right? So, but an actor's career could be writer, producer, director. It could go on for many years.
It could, and many actors have transitioned. I would say more transition to director that I know of than necessarily, or they may even get a producer's credit, but most of them I know have transitioned more into director.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
talk
about
what you love acting, man. They love acting. So
well. That's like I love playing ball, but I ain't gonna play forever. I mean, this just
but you can act forever. As you older, you just start playing older characters.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because one of my Dick Van Dyke, he was still doing some stuff not a few years ago, and then even when I saw the last interview with Cicely Tyson, she was talking about still acting. She loves it. Yeah. So,
most of those people like that develop into remarkable performers as an actor, though. They'll bring you some stuff in a performance. They'll do something memorable. You're like, wow.
So tell us before we get off here. Tell us what you currently are working on, because you're still working.
Working like a borrowed slave. Yeah. Working on a project called After the Rain, which is a sequel to a movie called Purple Rain. That Jerome Benton, who was in Purple Rain and several other movies with Prince and other movies and TV shows. It was Jerome's brainchild, and he's one of my constant creative partners, and kind of like a little brother to me. But we're working on the sequel to that. We had originally developed it as a TV pilot for a limited episode TV series, but now we're developing it as a feature film. And I would think within the next month we should be finished with at least the first draft of that. And we'll march forward with it. Purple Rain was a landmark movie. Very successful movie. And we have every anticipation that after the rain, we'll match it in that regard.
Right. My sister-in-law is a big Prince fan. Love Purple Rain. I'm sure she got quite a few items on Purple Rain.
Well,
and and
if she's a pretty woman, Prince would have been a big fan of her.
It says, are there times when they take work without compensating for the writing? Compensation for the writing.
Of course. Yeah, people steal all the time. Case in point, I remember I was pitched the idea for a TV show. I can't remember what it was, to a black person too. And they came back and says, well, man, we're not going to do your story. But what we're going to do is we're going to take your story, use it as a subplot, and give it to this other writer. See you later.
And don't give you any compensation.
Nothing.
And you can't copyright it.
Oh, you can, but I'm not. I pitch. You pitch stories all the time, so that's just another one I pitched.
Right.
But I would suggest strongly that if you write a script, a movie, a TV pilot, a story, a book, copyright it. You can register scripts at the Writers Guild of America also. But copywriting is still a stronger protection. You can do both. You can register it and copyright it.
Wow.
Yes, people do steal. People do steal people's ideas. They have a thing called a non-disclosure agreement. They will also refer to it as an NDA.
Yes, I remember that.
Many people will make you sign those these days before they even show you something. That's to keep you from stealing it.
Yes. Relentless, the series, it says, Brother Ilunga is the truth. Ilunga has helped me to shape my writing skills to the max. I thank him tremendously.
That sounds like my brother, Steve Jacobs. He is my brother. He's like, he's one of my favorite people. He is.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's dedicated. He's on it.
David Brooks? Why do we have the mindset to? It says, why do we have the mindset to perfect our skills, only to work for the machine? We are talented in sports and acting. Why don't we own any major companies?
Tyler Perry owns a major company. He's the exception rather than the rule. There are some other black people who do own, major companies in other industries. Rare individuals. If that's what you want to do, you can study them and, use some of their strategies and techniques, I would suggest. Because they've done it.
Well, with the landscape today, with the many opportunities with what you got, Netflix, Apple, you got all these other opportunities today in terms of acting. Tyler Perry, it's more than just Hollywood. It's more than just LA. But I don't know if there's any leadership in regards to how we address opportunities for African American people, moving forward. I like the part where you said there was companies or clubs or places where people can go and hone their skills and meet people and network. I don't see a whole lot of that. In terms of actors helping actors. I could tell you, Michael, Denzel, of course, Denzel, my son was, standing understudy for Denzel.
Yes.
Michael, was Michael T, right?
Michael T. Williamson, or was there another?
I think it's Williamson, right? He did with Forrest Gump and
Oh yeah. We did a PBS show together years ago.
yeah, and
He's a good man.
Yeah, he's helped my son on shaping some things for auditions and different things like that.
Good.
I think
That's
that
like a mentor.
yeah, we need more.
Yes.
And we need to create more opportunities for networking opportunities for our young actors. You know, our next Denzel Washington, our next, you know, actors or actress.
Both. If we get over there and everybody for themselves mentality, you know, and you know, actually actively try to help. Yeah, it's possible.
No. Wow.
It's possible.
Yes.
But there's a lot of, especially with actors, there's a lot of well, everybody in showbiz, there's a lot of ego, you know, involved. A lot of ego, a lot.
Wow. Well, Ilunga, we ran over about 10 minutes here because I just thought it was just so important. Even though I want to apologize because I don't know, I'm freezing, moving slow, and what I see, you are perfect. You know,
I'm in Memphis, baby.
You in Memphis, and you on your cell phone, and I got all this equipment down here, and mics and lights and all that kind of stuff down here, and mine's the one that's a little funky right now. But I want to say thank you, man, because I was glad that you're not messed up, right? That people got an opportunity to hear what you what you had to say, what you experienced, and I want to thank you for sharing such rich information to the audience this evening.
Yeah, and if you ever want to, there's some other writers who I could recommend who you know they can share with you also.
Okay.
Male and female, they can
all
share
right.
with you too.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And writers, directors, all of it, they can share with you.
All right, so well, hold on for a second. I'm gonna close out.
Okay.
And then I'll see you in a few minutes. So again, I want to say thank you. We glad to bring Ilunga Adell on the Blueprint podcast. Man, he has such rich knowledge, and of course, we all loved whatever he's written. We didn't know he was writing it, you know.
No one does. That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. We didn't know he was writing these episodes and these things that we laughed at and we had fun with. You know, we grew up on and encouraged us while we were going through whatever we were going through. We want to say thank you to him. And I want to say thank you to each and every one who joined me each week on the Blueprint podcast. Man, I love you. I'm working on my guest for next week. And you know, I look forward to seeing you next Sunday, and be blessed. And remember what I say each and every week. If God allows you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you, and I love you.
Bravo, bravo.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.